So why should I own a home? Let's break this down. The number one reason is because it reduces my living expenses. Okay, if you're watching this and you've heard a realtor ever say, renting is too expensive, you should buy a home instead. Tell them to put their money where their mouth is. I would buy if it lowers my housing expenses. Okay, the problem is my housing expenses are not just principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Right? It's not just my mortgage payment. So it's got to actually reduce my total housing expense: principal, interest, taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, repairs, and improvements. That would be a long ass acronym, right? But it's got to reduce all of that stuff. Otherwise, it's not actually cheaper for me. It's more expensive, right? So I have to look at that. And then also the secondary reason is that it increases my tax benefits. I can write off more of my home. I can use more of my home for business. I can do different stuff by owning versus renting. It's a lot harder to justify some of this if I'm renting it. If I own it, it's a little bit different, right? So that's the second reason. And then the third reason is because I can use my equity to borrow against and build wealth. I would actively be using my equity to borrow and build wealth with. If I owned a home, that would be the number one reason. It lowers my costs. I can write off more of it for my business, and I can actively use my equity to go build wealth. Right? So these are the three reasons why I would buy a home. Now, I want you to think, how many people do you actually see that are doing that as the primary reason? For me, when I look around, it's not very many. I know a couple, but not a ton. Right? But where would we be at today if that was the primary reason? Free up cash flow, reduce taxes, and then use equity to build wealth. Now, why shouldn't I buy a home? I should not buy a home if it's going to increase my housing costs. Right? I don't get rich off housing costs. I don't get rich off giving more money to a landlord or a bank. Like, it's not even about renting or owning. It's about more money just left my pocket and went to someone else now. And it's not earning me interest, and it's not building me cash flow. It's now gone. Right? So that would be a bad reason to buy. If it increases my costs, I probably shouldn't do it. I should not buy if I don't have a big enough down payment. If I'm looking at FHA loans and VA loans and like little money down loans, that probably automatically means I shouldn't do it. Like, I'm already in the club of people that has no business spending that money right now, because I probably don't have anything to cover myself if I have an emergency come up. I probably don't have anything invested. I probably have debt right now that costs me money that if I were to get rid of, I would have more cash freed up to make the right decision later. That's almost an automatic disqualifier for me.